Good morning, dear students of class 12. Welcome to the English online learning class. Today we are going to take up part 3 of the lesson Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. First, we'll do a brief recap of what we did in the previous classes. Now, as we had discussed about the background of the author, Annis Young, and this book, the lesson is an excerpt from her book, Lost Spring Stories of Stolen Childhood. The lesson is in two parts. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage and I want to drive a car. So we were taking up the first part of this lesson. Sometimes I find a rupee in the garbage. Writer meets a rag picker called Sahib and she engages in a conversation with him. And during this conversation, she comes to know that this child has come from Dhaka, as the green fields of Dhaka, as told by his mother, they were washed away in floods. And so they were migrated to Delhi in search of a better living. Now the writer asks the child, why does he do this? The child says that he has nothing else to do. Writer has another suggestion for him. Why doesn't he go to school? The boy says that there is no school in his neighborhood. Probably the boy wants to hide the fact that his family cannot afford to send him to school. Now, the writer raises a false hope in the child by making a fake promise that if I start a school, will you come? Writer probably had said this in a half-joking manner. But then she realizes the promise that she had made to the child, the false promise, when the child asks her after some time, when he meets her again, is her school ready? She also comes to know the name of this child, which is very ironical, Sahib-e-Alam, which means Lord of the universe. Whereas this child is struggling for a living. Now, she encounters these boys whom she refers as morning birds. They are army of barefoot children, barefoot without any slippers. And writer questions one of them, why you aren't wearing chappals. They have different reasons for not wearing chappals. But the actual reason, the writer says, it is their continual state of poverty, the perpetual state of poverty, which probably they hide under different excuses. And one of them can be it's a tradition not to wear slippers. But the actual reasons, according to the writer, is the continual state of poverty. It reminds writer of a man in Udupi who told her once that in order to have a pair of shoes, they had slippers, they had to offer prayers. But 30 years down the line, when the same place was visited, she could see a lot of development in that place. Children wearing uniform, socks, shoes. Probably the goddess had granted their prayers. But this place, uh, the condition of rag pickers, the young boy she meets, has remained the same over the years. Now, her acquaintance with these children, rag pickers, uh, takes her to Simapuri, which she says it is on the periphery of Delhi, yet miles away from it. Periphery of Delhi means it is on the outskirts of Delhi, but it should have seen lot of development and progress being in the capital city, but it is devoid of any such development. People here are struggling for a living. The writer very pathetically describes their miserable condition, how these people are living, lacking in basic um, facilities like sewage, like proper sewage system, drainage, running water. And although these people, they do not have any identity, but they have been provided with ration cards probably to get their names enlisted in the voters list. What is important for these children is food, not identity. And if by the end of the day they are able to get a meal that is enough for them, and garbage for them holds different meaning for children as well as adults. For uh, adults, it is a means of survival, whereas for children, it is full of wonder and surprise, because even if they strike across a 10 rupees note while scrounging through the garbage, they feel that it is a great achievement. Now, the writer also comes to know by interacting with this child that probably he loves the game tennis. And earlier also, she could feel in this child that he wants to go to school. But he is content as he has got a discarded pair of shoes, which is which is which has a hole, and he by a rich boy, thrown by a rich boy, and this child is happy having a discarded pair of tennis shoes. After some time, when the writer meets this boy again, she comes to know that the boy has taken up a work in a tea stall. We stopped here. We are going to continue with this in today's class. This morning, Sahib is on his way to the milk booth. In his hand is a steel canister. I now work in a tea stall down the road. So the child shares with the writer that he has now started working in a tea stall by the road. He says, pointing to the distance, I am paid 800 rupees and all my meals. So he's getting 800 rupees per month and he's getting meals. Does he like the job? I asked. His face, I see, had lost the carefree look which he had as a rag picker. He was his own master as a rag picker, but now he's working under a master. The steel canister seems heavier than the plastic bag he would carry so lightly over his shoulders because he was carefree. This bag was his. The bag was his. The canister belongs to the man who owns the tea shop. Sahib is no longer his own master. So, as a rag picker, he was a carefree child, but now he has grown up. He is working in a tea stall, which is giving him 800 rupees a month and all free meals. He's carrying a canister with him, and probably the boy has lost his carefree look because he's working under a master. Now we come over to the second part. I want to drive a car. Mukesh insists on being his own master. I will be a motor mechanic, he announces. The writer meets another child, Mukesh, and he shares with the writer that he wants to be a motor mechanic. Do you know anything about cars? I ask. I will learn to drive a car, he answers, looking straight into my eyes. His dreams look like a mirage amidst the dust of streets that fill his town, Firozabad. So the child belongs to Firozabad, and the writer has gone to Firozabad, where she interacts with this child. Now, every other family in Firozabad is engaged in making bangles. So Firozabad is known for glass industry, and here almost everyone is engaged in making bangles. It is the center of India's glass blowing industry, where families have spent generations working around furnaces, welding glass, making bangles for all the women in the land, it seems. So every family is engaged in this work since generations. Mukesh family is among them. So Mukesh family is also engaged in bangle making. None of them know that it is illegal for children like him to work in the glass furnaces with high temperature. So probably people here do not know that it is illegal for children to work in Bengal glass factories where there are in furnaces with high temperature. So the working conditions are not fit for the children to work. In dingy cells, in small cells, without air and light, that the law, if enforced, could get him and all those 20,000 children out of the hot furnaces where they slog their daylight hours, often losing the brightness of their eyes. So, if law is enforced properly, then probably these Mukesh, along with 20,000 other children who are engaged in this work, would be freed, often losing the brightness of their eyes. They are exposing their eyes to bright light, which is very harmful. It may even cause blindness. It causes, not even. Mukesh's eyes beam as he volunteers to take me home. So he is very happy to escort the writer to his home, which he proudly says is being rebuilt. Mukesh is very happy because his house is being renovated. We walk down the stinking lanes. Small lanes are smelling badly, choked with garbage. They are full of garbage. And past homes that remain hovels with crumbling walls. The houses in this lanes, small, dirty lanes, stinking lanes, they are full of walls that are almost falling, wobbly doors, no windows, crowded with families of humans and animals coexisting in primeval state. In a deplorable state, human and animals are existing together. He stops at the door of one of such houses, bangs a wobbly iron door with his foot and pushes it open. This is his house. He bangs the iron door, and with his foot he pushes it open. We enter a half-built shack. In one part of it, thatched with dead grass, is a firewood stove over which sits a large vessel of sizzling spinach leaves. On the ground, in a large aluminium platters, are the chopped vegetables. So, as he opens, the writer could see the house, which is half built, and on one side, on one corner, there is a firewood stove which is burning and has a large vessel where spinach leaves are boiling. And there is on the other side platter where chopped vegetables are kept. A frail young woman, very thin, weak woman, is cooking the evening meal for the whole family. Through eyes filled with smoke, she smiles. Now just see the description. Her eyes are filled with smoke and she smiles. She is the wife of Mukesh's elder brother. Not much older in years, she had begun to command respect as the Bahu, the daughter-in-law of the house, already in charge of 3 men, her husband, Mukesh, and their father. So she is taking care at a young age of these 3 men in the family. When the older man enters, she gently withdraws behind the broken wall and brings veil closer to her face. So she covers her face. As custom demands, daughter-in-law must veil their faces before male elders. So she follows the customs of the traditions of the place. In this case, the elder is an impoverished bangle maker. He's a very pathetic, poor bangle maker, despite long years of hard labor. He has toiled hard throughout his life, first as a tailor, then as a bangle maker. He has failed to renovate her house. This has given him nothing. He has not even saved enough money to renovate his house. Sends his 2 children to school. He's not able to educate them. All he has managed to do is to teach them what he knows, the art of bangle making. So he has been able to pass on the art of bangle making only to his children and nothing else. He has not been able to renovate the house or educate his children. Thank you. We'll stop here and we'll continue the remaining part tomorrow. Thank you.